Hello, and welcome to the Blackbridge Mindset Podcast, where culture, entrepreneurship, and business intersect to fuel inspiration. This podcast celebrates the power of diverse voices shaping the future of business. So whether you're building a business, breaking barriers, or just looking for some serious inspiration, you're in the right place. The Blackbridge Mindset Podcast is hosted by your three favorite best friends, Mike, Ken, and CJ. So now sit back, relax, and absorb the gems being dropped on you by today's special guest.
Well, good morning,
All right,
kiddos.
get in.
Yes, I'm going to call you kiddos.
Good morning.
Today we're going to be young because the other episode I was calling everybody old. So we're going to be young today. How are y'all doing?
Blessed.
Doing good here.
favored. Good.
Nice.
Dry.
Is it spring
once.
yet? I'm so lost. It is spring,
Absolutely.
right? Like spring.
Haven't you gotten a ton of rain?
It's summer in Atlanta. It's 85 degrees,
Oh,
or it will be 85 degrees today.
well, it is 40 degrees today in Chicago. So that's why I'm so
Yeah.
confused.
Listen,
Weird.
don't get excited. It's barely going to be 60 on Tuesday. So
Yeah.
But you the one said it was summer.
I said today.
Well, we do have
Yeah,
something
all right.
exciting to talk about. We've posted 2 podcasts so far, and they're both doing really well. So I'm pretty excited about that. With Rhainita talking about real estate development, and then with David talking about his businesses, Epic and No Number 8T. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm super happy that people have come through and watched our episodes. If you're listening to this now and you haven't watched them, go back and watch them. They were phenomenal guests. And then our next one coming up here on April 8th is Sandy Daniels with Symphony Love. But yeah, all great guests. And looking at the numbers on BuzzFeed, we're actually doing better than I was aiming for. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah,
Fantastic.
let's keep getting the
You're
word out.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ken. It's all because of you.
No, it is all good. Yeah, Mike, do you also want to, I'm putting you on the spot,
Mhm.
talk about what you did over the weekend at the conference?
Yeah, so I do real estate investing on the side, and I went to a big real estate investor meetup called Squad Up Summit. It was in Dallas, Texas over the weekend. There were 3,000 people there, and it's just the time for the people, and it's called Sub 2 is the name of the group, but the people who are in this group, they consider themselves like a family, so it's more like a homecoming, and it's a time to go and just network with people, get more knowledge, understand how the real estate market is changing, and all of that fun stuff. So it was great. It's like you go there, you get fed, and you learn some things that's going to help as I go through the real estate investing journey. So right now, looking for more properties, also looking for private money lenders, and educating people on that. There's so many ways that people can invest their money outside of the stock market, or even if you have a 401k or IRA, people don't know that you can actually manage those yourself. You can have a self-directed account where you control where the money goes. So I'm learning more about that. I'm also a private money lender, so I do it myself, so I understand it a little bit. But yeah, that's what I did this weekend. It was great. Learned a lot, but I was exhausted afterwards, talking to,
Was that your first time going?
it was my first one, and I almost didn't go, but one of my mentors, he was like, "Dude, you gotta go. You gotta go." And I was like, "Fine." So last minute, bought
Yeah.
a ticket. I went and hit the ground running from the time I landed on Friday, and it went through Monday afternoon. And I was actually supposed to fly
Nice.
home Tuesday morning, but I ended up switching my flight to Monday night. I was like, I'm ready to go home and get my own bed. So I came home a little bit early after everything was done. But yeah, it was great. It was definitely great.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
That's
I
good.
did something a little different last night myself. And I went to, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's like a Candlelight Orchestra
Mhm.
concert. It was all string instruments, like 4 people in this quartet, and they played all R&B songs, everything from D'Angelo to SZA to like you name it. They even played a string version of Purple Rain by Prince that was so hot.
Mhm.
Like the stuff that they do is crazy, and apparently they do it in a lot of different cities. I think they have something in Chicago. They may do it in Atlanta as well.
They do it here.
Yeah,
If you get a chance to go
they
to
do.
it. It was
Yeah,
worth
they
it.
have a Beyonce one coming up. I'm going to try to get
Mm.
tickets to.
I'd highly recommend it. It was worth it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Check it out.
That's good. So what's new with me is I have canceled my membership at Effect Fitness and I hired a personal trainer.
Okay.
What?
I did.
Getting
You
that.
'Cause
had
I
enough
just,
of all that craziness first thing in the morning?
but so- well, that's one of the reasons why. Like getting up at 4:30 in the morning is that's just too much.
Nope.
And then, going through that. So yeah, so I have my second session today, actually today after we're done at noon at the gym that I signed up for locally, so which is good. So I'm looking forward to it. In anticipation
Yeah.
of our trip later this year.
Oh, so that's to get ready to lay on the beach.
No,
Getting that grease body
no.
ready.
I mean, yes,
Right.
but no. My ass is
Trying to give
old,
them the body, yaddy, yaddy, yaddy.
right? Correct. Listen,
Giving the people
but
what they
no, it's
want.
just because I'm old and I need to get myself together. That's all.
No, you're not old. You're good.
Can identify with that.
Yeah, I hear what you're talking about getting up at 4:30 in the morning. People have been trying to get me to go to the gym first thing in the morning for years, and I've tried it, but I am not a morning gym person. Anyway, go ahead, Ken.
All right. Are we ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm
Let's do
excited
it.
about our guest. Let's do it.
Me too. I'm so looking forward to this. Like, it's like we've
Yes.
come full circle, right? So yeah, so I'm going to introduce our guest today. Today, we are bringing to you live and in person from Wisconsin. Today, we have Afra Smith, who is the founder and CEO of the Melanin Project, where she's made it her personal mission to eradicate wealth disparities for women of the Black and African diaspora. The Melanin Project programs support building generational wealth through advocacy, personal empowerment, and financial wellness coaching. She is the creator of the Financial Wellness Strategy, which focuses on 3 key principles: recognizing your emotions, educating yourself, and empowering your life. Welcome, Afra, to the show this morning. We are super excited to have you. And just to give a little background, Afra, we've known each other for what, going on 20 years now?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely. It's been that long.
Which is crazy.
Maybe even a little longer.
Because you look like you're 23, so I don't know how that's possible.
The 5 a.m. gym workout, see?
Do
Duly
you work
noted.
out in the morning?
Yes, I can't do it in the afternoon because I'm tired. Like after like 1 or 2 o'clock, my brain shuts down on me. I can take some meetings, but I'm not functional
Mm.
at all. So I won't go if I don't do it in the morning.
Got it.
Then maybe that's what I'm doing wrong.
I won't go. Mhm.
Yeah.
And nobody's in the gym either that early. It's like a few people in the gym. So I can just lollygag, not be bothered, and then get home.
Mhm.
Time enough just to relax, get a few more things done.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll try it again at some point, but my body, I get there, my body's just like, why are you here? And it just doesn't work.
You
But I'll try
adjust,
it.
Once you get going, though, it's easier.
you adjust to it
Okay.
after a while. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you all welcoming me here today. So I'm excited to be here and dialogue with y'all.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a great show.
And I'm excited to
same
be
here.
here. I appreciate y'all welcoming me.
Let's
So,
do it.
yeah.
Nice. So Afra, tell us, give us your background. What do you do, and how did you get started?
Yeah, so I actually work full-time in healthcare for, over 2 decades now. And on the side, I shouldn't say on the side, 'cause it's actually full-time now. With my work with the Melanin Project, everything about the brand is actually based on my personal story and struggle with money. And so coming out of a situation where I had a credit score at the mid-500, I was upside down in my car paying 25% interest on a car loan. I had a massive amount of student loan debt. I had taken out 10 to 12 payday loans at one time, and then I just wasn't paying them back. That landed me on check systems and being unbanked, meaning no bank would give me a checking account because I had bounced so many checks and overdrafted so many accounts. And then to make matters worse, I was suffering from anxiety, depression at one point, suicidal in my life. And so taking that journey to kind of clean up my financial house and all these things that I discovered, I had money, a little money and credit, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so I started studying, what do wealthy people do with their money? And it said real estate and entrepreneurship. I asked myself, like, what am I great at? And I realized that I was myself through this horrific situation. I'm like, I could teach this to somebody else. And so during the pandemic, I was just in my house tinkering around, making stuff, making videos, just just relax, having a good time. I took a little social media class, and I had been posting over the course of a couple of years because we had been indoors. And when I came out, people knew who I was. Although they weren't like necessarily engaging with the videos, instead of like touching them, they were watching them.
Mhm.
And so that kind of started this movement to kind of where I am today with some larger footprints of the work that I'm doing. So that's just how I got to this place. And so I'm just very passionate about, the work that I'm doing and to try to teach back to others and create a larger platform to draw people into financial empowerment.
Very nice. So just hearing your story, I guess I'm going to start out with a question that's kind of going to tie into, say, if someone was in your shoes at this point, what would be one of the, I guess, first pieces of advice you would give to someone?
I always tell people that 80% of our inability to be successful in life, and specifically with our money, is our mindset. And I used to cringe when I would see like wealthy people to my, you need to
Mm.
change your mindset. I would actually be offended. Like, screw you. You have a lot of money. How dare you talk about me? But as you start taking this journey, you realize how important the mindset is. And often talk about like we're in work environments. And this was certainly my story. We're in work environments and we're dealing with all these isms. They're impacting us. Like, and so that becomes what you're
Mm.
consumed by and what your attention goes to. And you're very emotionally reacted to that. So much so that's why we see a lot of disparities, right, in health, like preventable illnesses. And so I always tell people like how you're processing that can actually impact everything about you. And so my mentality was someone else needs to fix this. I just need more money. And I got to a point where I was actually making 70K at one point and I was still struggling. So at some point we have to realize that the system is going to be what it is. The isms aren't going to go away. What about my situation can I control? And I realized that I had to use my wage as sort of the tool to inform my life. Like through this journey, what I unpacked was my mental health, the demons I had to let go of, the victim mentality that I had to let go of. And I start centering what can I do to control my circumstances. So I think a big part of this is people navigating their mental health and unpacking our lived experience, our trauma, anything that you need to do, whether it's childhood or adulthood, relationships, it shows up all over the place. And so 80% of my model, AODEC, is a part of unpacking. I spend 80% of my time with clients unpacking the mindset. I won't even touch your budget until I see where you are, what your triggers are, like what's
Mm.
leading you to spend the way that you are. People to identify what's going to cause them to spend. And after I give you that aha moment, you hear my voice when you're shopping. And I teach them behavioral methods to kind of avoid the emotional triggers from the day. It's in your cart. You argue with your boss, is in the cart. You argue with your spouse, is in your cart. So just really helping people understand. Don't shop when you're hungry, right? Those types of things really help people understand and connect to themselves. So I always tell people, number one, you got to get into a place where you're going to educate yourself. You got to get into a pocket, right? You know, if you want to be the next millionaire, you got to surround yourself by five other millionaires. So it's like you got to get into the room to get the education, and then you got to do the work. I think that's a big part of the problem. We don't want to do the work, and we've made poverty this beautiful thing. Poverty has become this comfortable thing that we're just super, I wouldn't say proud of. We just kind of normalize it. This is the way that we're going to live life. And I don't
Mhm.
think that we need to live that way. It's all about strategy and not necessarily money. I think money and strategy and a good mindset is a very powerful thing. And I think that's what makes me successful and certainly what's helped a lot of the people that I'm working with on a daily basis.
I'm
So
curious. You
here's
mentioned your was it AODEC approach? What does that stand for, and how did you come up with that?
Aotic is a frame around unpacking the mindset. So it's unpacking my story. At the same time, it's telling them what I ran into and the why, but it's holding them personally accountable because the frame that I do is personal empowerment. I don't want to talk about the system. I don't want to talk about racism. We're doing it all day. Somebody else is doing it on that platform. I want to focus on you and where the solutions are. And so the A stands for acknowledge the problem. And I kind of walk them through the frame of that. O is own your behaviors and the importance of that, right? I talk about how 90% of crimes committed are financially related, but yet we don't teach financial wellness inside of high schools and middle schools and elementary. We're just now starting to get around that. The D stands for develop selective hearing, because as you're taking this journey, you're around people, they do not have wealth building mindsets. And so the fear starts to come. They start to tell you stuff, don't do that, you know, and as much as you love your family and your friends, they will say stuff
I
that
was
is
just
so
about to say that.
harmful, it'll send you down. So I'm connecting in my journey to these things. The E is education, super important. What you give energy to grows. So I walk through the importance of that, what to be careful of, because we have platforms now. People are selling big cars and fancy houses. I don't do that on the platform. I don't think that people need to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. So I put in front of them tangible, culturally responsive people that they can see themselves represent in as they're taking their journey. And then the last one is celebrate yourself, because as I was taking this journey, I developed a scarcity mindset in that by the time I got comfortable, I didn't want to spend because I had restricted myself so much. Although I had money, it was like the thought of spending made me uncomfortable. So it took me 2 years to let go of that, to say it's okay to spend money on yourself. So I teach my clients that it's okay to buy things that you love. Don't spend stuff on money that you don't love or that your friends may love. That's just not your jam. And be mindful of balancing that out. Like, don't take a trip to Mexico if it's not affordable, but buy yourself something nice to, keep those endorphins in your body. So it walks through, that frame. And that's a part of, my workshops, Bloom with Your Plan, or sometimes I do those as standalone motivational speaks. It's just tying in. This is where I started. This is where I ended up. And then this was the journey to kind of getting you there. And as I bring people on and how I kind of, leveraged it and scaled it a little bit, now I'm doing this conference where you can see yourself represented. So there's a homeless mother, a person who was pregnant, a person who was on Section 8. I bring in those stories that are really relatable and this multi-millionaire that people aren't going to relate with right now.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do to get out that system? What did you do to get around paycheck to paycheck? What did you do when you were homeless and navigating your mental health? So I think those also help connect me into the aortic strategy as well.
Yeah. And I
Right.
sort of
think
want to
it's
walk through your journey because I mean, you hit on it in the beginning, but I think there's going to be some people listening to this thinking, this has nothing to do with me, yet I'm
Mhm.
having all of these financial problems. Or someone's listening to this thinking, I have financial problems. I'm in too deep. I'm not going to be able to get out and build a better situation for myself. So
Yeah.
I don't want to skip over what you talked about earlier and where you were. And then let's sort of walk through where you were to where you are now. So if
Yeah.
we could go back a little bit, you mentioned, you had payday loans, you had X, Y, and Z debts. I don't remember them all. So if we could sort of walk through where your mindset and where you were at that point in time,
Mm.
and then we'll move because I want people to see like it's possible. But if they don't hear someone walk through it, they're gonna like this has nothing to do with me. Like I'm stuck.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. I spent probably a period of a good 4 years partying. And when I tell you I partied hard. And in that time, I thought I was living my best life but I was in the club Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? Rounds of alcohol, smoking weed, you name it, I did it. Shopping, taking trips, all on payday loans. I mean, my salary was not at 70K at that time, but I was having a good time. I had new outfits every weekend. This was the lifestyle that I was living, but this was also how I was coping. But I didn't recognize that in the moment because I didn't understand why I was so bothered. But I was also trying to take these measures to kind of improve myself. Maybe if I go back and get another degree, that's going to help leverage me. That only brought more debt. And so I did it again, right? Only to have more debt that I couldn't afford to pay back. So now I'm partying, I'm coping that way. I'm having a good time using payday loans, trying to keep up with everybody else in the Joneses, meaning everybody around me is actually broke. But no one talks about that. It's this taboo conversation that none of us actually want to talk about, although 70% of Americans are paycheck to paycheck. It's not an identity thing. That's just where we are. And if you look at people who are six-figure salary, they're also paycheck to paycheck. And there's a quarter of folks that are 250K, they're also struggling financially. So it's this taboo conversation that we don't want to have and that we don't want to acknowledge that sometimes we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, there's a lot going on, and then our coping mechanisms are something negative versus trying to find out or identify solutions to kind of getting out of our circumstances. And so by the time all of this hit the nail, those payday loans like started to hit, I was in trouble. Those loans are at 300% interest. So of course I couldn't pay them back. But my mentality was to go and get another one and another one and another one.
yeah,
Landed me to be on
can you
banked.
can you define trouble with a dollar amount? Like what was trouble?
Ooh. By the time I felt healthy, and this didn't include the student loans, I had paid off over 30,000 in debt. That was from credit cards, payday loans, other blemishes, being late because my credit report was a disaster, right? I was
Hmm.
getting dinged on credit cards as well. And I was a swiper. I didn't care. I would just swipe. I never knew what was in my bank account. If I wanted it and they didn't decline it, I was going to swipe it. And that was just my mentality until I got that decline. And even knowing, like sometimes, you go back in the day when you used to get payday loans, and actually my brother-in-law said this because back in the day they would call you and call your references if you didn't answer. And I remember one day he called me and said, "Hey, Kathy called." I'm like, "Who's Kathy?" "Kathy from ABC Payday Loan." And we would just start laughing. Like that was just the reality of my life at that time. I didn't care. I would always put my brothers as references on things. And I think that during that time, you're just not aware. I wasn't educated enough to know that I'm going to get a payday loan at 300% interest. You don't really consider that APR on those loans when you're not well. I needed the money. And I actually got introduced to payday loans by a good friend when I moved to Texas. She just was like, "Hey girl, did you know you can get a loan and not pay it back?" And I was like, "Well, say less. Like where could I go?"
And not
So
pay it
I
back.
went, and that started that journey of just being unwell. But if you name it, I've had it on my profile. I was late on utility bills, card notes,
Mhm.
credit cards. I had amassed so many payday loans. The interest was hitting. They were tacking stuff onto that. So that racked up. And then over a course of time, I kept adding on student loan debt that I wasn't paying back. So now the interest is sitting because I kept
Mhm.
deferring. That made my situation worse. So it was
Oh wow.
a lot to kind of tackle. So everything is
Yeah.
hitting. So the model that I have is for myself. It is for the worst case scenario,
Mm.
but it's very simplistic how I walk people through the budgeting process itself because in my situation, I got to give them a plan where they can just see everything. You can see the debt from one preview. You can see what you have left over at the end of the month. You can also see the timing of when you're going to pay that off and the importance of it. So if I give you the motivation at 80%, now it makes sense why you need to continue to clean up your financial house and continue to do the work after.
Yeah. So $30,000, you're
30,000.
like, I need to do something, and I'm gonna get to the program and how you use that to walk people and
Mhm.
get into better financial health. But I just want to sort of use your story so that people can see how this could work for them as well. So $30,000 in debt. What was the trigger for you to be like, Afra, stop? We need to fix this.
I was at work and I'm a person that shows up. I work hard, so I'll
Mhm.
show up early, I'll stay late. I'm doing the work, right? And keep getting turned down for these promotions. And my final straw was I interviewed, I was qualified, and they hired someone who was not as experienced and hadn't been at the company that longer. And it was just like so deflating. And I went home that night, I cried, and I was just like, I'm tired. And I had a light bulb moment. And in that moment, it was like this awakening. And I asked myself, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're smart, you're degreed, right? You can figure this out. Like, what are you doing? Why are you depending upon these people? And that was my catalyst for change. And I remember being over at a friend's house, laying on her couch, saying, I'm just tired. I'm broke. Like, I can't get ahead. I'm tired. I'm just tired of living like this. And she said, I want to introduce you to the lady at the church who I hadn't known already. I said, I didn't know that she did financial wellness. And so I got in front of her. I was uncomfortable, afraid, fearful, because I'm like, I have a degree. I'm going to sit in front of this woman, talk about my money. But she was very nice. She wasn't judgmental. She just simply showed me how to budget. It was so easy that I spent 6 months with her. And then I told her I needed to leave because I needed to know whether or not I could maintain this on my own. And that started the journey. It was just a aha awaken. I got tired. I'm tired depending upon you all. And I learned to now use this wage as a tool. I stayed at that company for an additional 4 years after that. And I was very strategic about managing my money and growing my money, even so going down to asking for raises. You're not going to promote me, so I'm going to sneak down to HR every single year. Even though they were doing cost of living increases, I would ask for a raise, even if it's 1 or 3%, and they would give them to me. I'll keep track of all my duties. And so this started my journey to say, okay, y'all don't want to promote me? That's fine. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to figure out what I can do with what I have. I started with a therapist as well. That was helpful for me to sort of unpack all these things that I didn't know that I was just holding on to that actually had nothing to do with the work environment, but they were my center because of the money thing. And so it was a combination of that light bulb moment and then me starting to just pack and let go of everything that I thought was holding me back. And in reality, it was actually me. Doesn't escape the system, but the reality was I had full control over the decisions that I made around my wallet. My spending habits were bad. Coping mechanisms were bad. And so that was the catalyst for me to shift.
So now I'm curious, now that you have addressed these issues, you know they exist, you've gone through your own personal journey, what steps did you take to start up your business? Like, what was there a business plan that you had at the time, or you developed it after you went through your process? What things did you put in place to start up your business? What was the foundation?
I'm very blessed to live in a state where there's a lot of support for entrepreneurs. I didn't know that at the time. So it's pandemic. I'm playing around. I took a little social media class. So the pandemic is over. And I realized that I need to figure out how to grow this. So I got into 3 to 4 entrepreneurship programs. I say 4 because the 4 was kind of light. And it showed you how to develop your mission, your vision. They talked about your market, right? I was going to serve all Black women. So really kind of navigating that down. Also being in these ecosystems, it allowed me to showcase my brand. So I got to do some pitches to actually pitch my business in bigger crowds that actually expanded the work a little bit. And so it was through those entrepreneurship programs that my business began to grow. I started to get media attention as well for the work that I was doing. And then some other things burst. But I do think that it's important for people to understand that you don't know what you don't know. And getting into these programs really help you evaluate where you are and make some shifts. So I made a lot of shifts within those first 2 years, but I was patient. I am a for-profit business doing grassroots work. That was the first thing that I had to figure out because I didn't feel that a nonprofit was going to support the frame of me talking about wealth empowerment. And also I live in a state where profits are saturated. It's almost a competition now for dollars, and I hate that. So now I can be in collaboration with those nonprofits versus taking dollars away from them. They can go and get the grant and hire me in to do the work. So figuring a lot of that out at the very beginning and just being very slow, methodical, getting my items together, how I was going to approach people and just slowly figuring things out. I started out as one-on-one coach. That has evolved. Do I do a little bit of that? Yes, but they're mostly workshop settings now, conference settings, where I'm getting a mass of people together versus one-on-ones aren't something that I'm doing as much. But again, you do that through entrepreneurship programs. They kind of challenge your thinking around how you can scale and reach a larger audience with through my story. So I think again, it was social media, and then it was just getting into some of these programs to help expand my brand.
So, Aoife, can you kind of talk to us about how you work with people to change their mindsets?
Mm.
Because I think you had mentioned earlier that, you know, it doesn't make sense to put a millionaire in front of somebody who is struggling. But I think a lot of people feel like I need to be a millionaire in order to, you know,
Mm.
to survive
Yeah.
and to make it. So can you talk about how you work with your clients in order to help them change their mindset?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that's so important. And this year, I have a conference theme of legacy, the power of present choices. And a part of that theme is trying to tell people that you don't start building legacy when you have 100K in the bank. Your legacy starts now in cleaning up your stuff, right? And you got to start someplace. Everybody has to start someplace, right? Unless you're inheriting wealth, somebody started at a place, and where you are is okay. You're just building from where you are. I often tell people that I don't speak from a mountaintop. I need this conference just as much as everybody else. I'm on a journey just like everybody else. And I always speak from that place. The people that I'm bringing in, I want to hear from. I want to listen to, right? And I think it's important that we not feel that our circumstances are so unique and so different. That's what kept me in shame. I felt like I was the only person struggling. And when my story came out, everybody had petty loans around me. My friends had petty loans. I'm like, why did we never talk about the fact that we were surviving off of petty loans because it's easy accessible? So that's where you're going to go. So I think for folks who are struggling and you're overwhelmed, you're not going to get unoverwhelmed by just sitting in it. It's only going to get worse. Your credit score is going to continue to tank, right? You're not going to have as much money. Your mental health is going to continue to tank. And the only freedom that we'll ever have, to me, is through our financial houses, and it'll help you unpack so much about yourself. But you got to go somewhere. You got to acknowledge your problem and show up to somebody, whether it's a bank. Even if I had a lot of negativity. I dealt with a lot of institutional bias. Number one, they didn't know how to deal with my circumstances. Number two, they were giving me bad information. But I just kept going. If you didn't want to help me, fine. I will find somebody who will help me. And I still face those challenges, even where I am today, where there's barriers of financing. So I will develop products based on the fact that you're telling me no. Okay, I'm going to develop something to help people behind me. And so when I'm working with people, number one, I don't work with everybody. You just have to be committed. Very early on, I did a lot of free stuff, and I found that people will not commit when you're just doing stuff for them for free. They have to have some sort of vested interest. So if I'm working with you and you don't have the mentality to just want to push, then I won't take your money. It's not going to be a good fit. So I won't work with folks. Workshops are a different structure, but one-on-one, I will meet with you first to see who you are and what you're about and where you're trying to go. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And they have bad credit, but they have good business ideas, but they can't scale because they have bad credit. And so once I get them cleaned up, I can get them to a place of acquiring some business credit, because that's something that I have done on my own because of the barriers that I face to acquire capital from real estate or having money to do rehabs and things like that. So I think I'm not just going to stop when there's a barrier. And I think when you're struggling and you're overwhelmed, you're hearing somebody say, fix your mindset, and you're like, that's not what I need. And I think I try to educate people that it is 80% of your inability to build wealth, 80% of your ability to manage your day-to-day finances, 80% of your ability to make good, sound decisions in your life. And so that's a big factor. When people are overwhelmed, they're afraid, I'm going to be different. So I try to cultivate comfort through my story. My story brings comfort. Oh, she did it. She was struggling. It's okay. I can talk about the fact that paycheck to paycheck. And that's what's happening in the settings that I'm cultivating here in my state.
Yeah. And how hard was it for you to actually start publicly talking about your story with other people?
I think the therapist actually helped a lot with that. But I'm going to tell you, I felt relieved. Once I let it out, I felt relieved. And a part of my motivational speaks I actually built a brand around my lived experience. That is what's driving the work. I built the brand around being vulnerable and sharing my story. And I'm still vulnerable today. I'm very honest. Like, yes, I'm very visible, but I'm very honest about my struggles. Like, even today through entrepreneurship, I'm telling people where I'm struggling at, or where there's barriers, because they still need to learn. I'm teaching from where I am and not from this mountaintop. And so I do think that's important that we share from that perspective, because they may see you as an executive. So they see you as this, like, oh, he didn't struggle. Oh, no. Let's have that person on my stage. You just don't think that they went through a journey. They didn't just get to this place without struggle. What was the conversation that they need to have? Like, how do I brand myself in these work environments? I bring in those types of people so that we can connect in to their stories, but also the solutions that they're going to give to how you need to position yourself. Because some of us just acting crazy in work environments. We acting ratchet, and we just need to be educated about our behavior. We're just not taught these things, right? We're not taught
Mhm.
Yeah.
how to manage certain stuff that's happening in the work environment. And so how do we create that ability to
Mm.
drive people towards thinking very differently about what shows up and how we're processing those experiences? And I think certainly with financial affairs, that's huge. It's so big.
Yeah, because I think even culturally, we have this right now mindset, right?
Mhm.
I got the money, I want
Yep.
it, I'm going to buy it, despite whatever else is, is happening and what is going on. And so I know you had mentioned before about talking to the lady at the church. Talk about what we can do from a cultural and community perspective, right? In order to get people, the education and the help that they need, right? In order for them to build a strong financial foundation.
I think there needs to be more collaboration with organizations that are doing this type of work. What I see is there is a level of competition between organizations that are doing work around disparities, and it makes me cringe. And I don't quite understand it, considering the level of disparity we have. Why are we competing with one another? I'm creating an ecosystem where I'm the vessel. I am not the source. I'm a resource to connect you to all these organizations that are doing amazing work. I don't care where you go in, just go and get it. I know that if I can shift the landscape of one house, that person's likely going to give back to their community. We just do that naturally. We give back. So I think group economics is important to building legacy. One of the things that I'm bringing into this conference this year is a legacy story around certainly that group economics and family and building private sector enterprise. We have to go together. The collective is necessary for us to build and grow. But if we see each other as competition, we're not going to get anywhere. If I share something with you, it's not going to harm me if you elevate, right? I know you're going to help 10 more people. And so I have tried to break down in my community, because even when I'm trying to share that I have a conference going, people won't share it. Because if they're doing something similar, even though I'm trying to welcome them in, I'm not asking for money, I'm just asking for you to share it, and I'm inviting you to the table. So there's this resemblance of that I have to break down. But I knowingly know that that's a part of my mission to eradicate wealth disparities. I'm also dealing with the mindset of some local organizations or organizations outside of it that don't see the value of collective empowerment and working together, because we're so traumatized. We're dealing with post-traumatic slave syndrome, that is how we're engaging with each other from a place of trauma versus a place of understanding what is the best solution to addressing some of these disparities. We want to blame the system. We want to blame racism. And I get it. I'm growing tired of that. I'm saying, how do we as a community come together to decide how we can move forward, how we collect people? Some of the people that I'm bringing in this year, the lending that they do, they're not loud about it. But I normally know that they're lending to 85% Black folks. But you don't know that unless you come into the vessel and you see the person and you connect in, because they don't want to be loud about it. So I think those type of connectors are the things that I'm learning are out here and available. I went through a development program and I was in awe. I had no idea that there were Black and brown people in my state doing the level of work that they were doing. And I don't know how I got into this program, because at that time I owned not one property, but I got in and I studied very hard, but I was just watching and learning what these folks have been doing for years, but you don't see their faces. They're not visible. Nobody showcases these individuals. And I don't know why that is. So I've created that platform to be able to showcase what these folks are actually doing in my community. And some of them are millionaires, but they won't show that.
Mhm.
They don't show that image of having that kind of money. They're just very chill people. And I appreciate that. So that's me. It's group economics, collective empowerment, us understanding that the disparities are so high. There's no competition. I'm not in competition with anybody. Not a bank. I'm not in competition with the credit unions that I'm partnered with. I'm just not. It's not a competition between us. We're doing very different work, but similar work.
To kind of touch on that and put this out in the atmosphere, there's some, I guess, specific companies or institutions that you'd like to work with?
I have some great collaborations with some nonprofits that are coming in. This is the first time that for my conference this year that I'm actually bringing high school youth. I'm really excited about that. That's not an area that I support. I work with adults, but I knowingly know in my community, there are organizations that are doing great work. One of those organizations that's national is Climb USA. They are teaching families and youth how to pick stocks, right? Getting paid a dividend on a monthly or quarterly basis can shift your life. Why aren't more people accessing this information? This company is right here in my backyard, but he travels nationally to present this information. I'm like, why aren't we going in? It's free. But again, it's part of the idea of liberating ourselves, right? That self-liberation piece and self-empowerment piece is like this mental thing that you have to break. Another organization that's local is CEOs of Tomorrow. right? They're teaching kids entrepreneurship. I don't have to do it. I'm just bringing in the organization to be able to fill the day. Personal finance with Summit Credit Union, bringing them in to do personal finance for the day. They're one of my sponsors for the event. Also in collaboration with Marquette University School of Real Estate. So again, I'm just bringing them in, being the connection to the vessel, getting kids excited about stock market, real estate, entrepreneurship, and the frame of starting with that personal financial house. There's an adult side, right, where we're doing something different, still connected to those pillars. But again, I'm one platform with one mission and one vision. This is an inclusive environment that's culturally responsive, where I'm bringing in those connectors and solutions. And then I have a 60-page digital resource, community resource guide that connects people into those areas that they might not even know exist. But you got to come in. You got to come in and get the content.
Very
So
nice.
for people who may have missed it, what's the name of your organization? How can they get involved? And what is your primary focus? Again, just to reiterate for people.
Yeah, so Afra Smith, founder and CEO of the Melanin Project. My website is www.themelaninproject2053.com. You can find out more information about upcoming workshops or conferences that I'm doing. I would say that my goal and my mission continues to remain the same: the eradication of wealth disparities. Although Black women have been my target, I have worked with every population of people you could think of, from Black, Brown, LGBTQ plus IA community. I've even been in banks and credit unions to talk to them about embedding equity into practice, into products. You want to talk finance? I'm open to doing so. And again, continuing to build this movement, I think my goal is to ensure that what I'm creating is the largest wealth empowerment venue and platform in my state. That work will continue because I do want to reach a larger audience that are people that can't travel to Madison, where I'm based in. And so I look forward to creating in the future an online opportunity for people to connect online into the conference. So very excited to continue to expand the work.
Awesome.
Very nice. Well, congratulations to you on
Yeah,
starting
fantastic work.
and working and actually putting your experiences to fruition and turning them into something that's actually doing good in the community.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And one of the things you mentioned, and I know we're coming up on time, is nonprofit versus for profit. And, some people may hear that and be like, oh, you're trying to help people, but you're also trying to make money for yourself. How do you explain that to folks when they hear that and say, well,
Yeah.
she's saying that she's doing this for profit, but yet she wants to help people?
I really appreciate that. That's a great question. I'm about to go deep with this one. So it is my personal belief that any dependence upon any system is dangerous. So that includes funding, that includes your job. I consider that to be a system. And so how I have gotten around that is I'm using what I have to make more, to leverage, right? I'm using my wage as a tool to build beyond that. Anybody who challenges me to say, hey, you should make money, then you probably don't have a wealth empowerment, wealth building mentality. We don't say that when we walk into box stores and they're selling products. My conference is very grassroots. It's not something that I'm making money off of. Year 2, I had to invest $5,000 into the conference, right? I'm very vocal about the fact that I'm a for-profit entity that also invests into the building of it. This year, I won't do the same, right? Because I don't want to be putting myself in a position where my wealth and ability to continue to drive visibility to the brand and the work is unnecessary. But I think a part of it is nonprofits are strapped for dollars, especially in this climate now. We're seeing a residue of what I'm saying, dependence upon system. Even some of the current wealth builders who are in this community that have established nonprofits, they talk about the regret that they have with creating an entity that is nonprofit, right? They feel limited by it. It's a form of control. I also can unpack this from a different perspective in that I don't necessarily agree that nonprofits are the best tool to navigate disparity work. And that's just me, but it doesn't mean that people aren't doing a great job. But I also look at the administrative burden of trying to manage nonprofits and where the money is going. It does limit my growth. It does limit my ability to grow because organizations and corporate sponsors like to donate money. They don't like to sponsor. So when people are seeing what I'm doing, those are in-kind donations. There's no dollars attached to what you're seeing. There's a very limited corporate sponsorship that I'm receiving. And then the ticket sales that I get actually go to pay my speakers. So when I say grassroots work, it's very grassroots. The only thing that I'm profiting on is this budget planner, any workshops that I'm doing where I'm putting myself out in person, and also my motivational speaks. That's how I continue to build my work. But I've also created an ecosystem financially for myself that it can sustain itself. So my operating budget is very small, but I also work full time as well. So I think that's what I would say. I think people should. Any entity should be making money, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit. You should be making money to make sure that that business is financially sound and fiscally able to manage itself. But for me, I still have a grassroots mission. I still donate and give back to my local community. But yeah, I gotta still build for where I am, build for myself personally. I have to build for myself personally. But the Melanin Project is revolving, so the money continuously goes back into the next year. But no, I appreciate that question.
Nice.
I'm gonna
No,
get
that's
challenged on the
perfect.
nonprofit thing. I know I am because I get challenged on that here. But I stand firm of why
No,
and I
I'm on the
challenge
same
myself.
I'm on the same page as you. I think if somebody is bringing value to the table, they
Mhm.
should get compensated for that. And
Oh yeah,
I think when people hear profit, like, "Oh, I need help. Can you help me?" They're like, "Yeah, it's gonna cost $10,000 for this class." They're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you're gonna make money off of me, and I need help?" Yes, but you pay this $10,000, you're gonna make $1,000,000 later. So which do you want?
yeah,
Like, I've gone through the struggle, I've gone through the learning, I've paid my dues to learn the information to share with you.
yeah,
So I'm 100% agree with you. I think giving away things for free to a certain extent is okay. So, like, if you go to a school and you do a speech, you
yeah,
you donate your time, that's fine. But if you're sitting here, you putting something together that can uplift the community, I 100% agree with you
yeah.
that, being for profit is okay.
And I'm still low cost. That budget planner
Yeah.
is $20. My
Mhm.
workshops are $35. There's no
Mhm.
unless you want one-on-one with me,
Mm.
that's a different scenario because that's a lot of time. But outside of that, if you go to my website, my products are all very reasonable for anybody to be able to take advantage of what they need. I have different learning
Yeah.
styles and approaches for different things. But only our community will do that. They will challenge you on your prices and then go somewhere else
Mhm.
and pay a lot of money.
Mm.
It's just it's
Yep.
baffling that we don't think that we
Yeah.
deserve wealth. So I love to challenge those types of conversations. I haven't had that though since I've been built.
It's that label mentality we have.
What's wrong, child?
Yeah.
What's wrong with
Well,
us?
we're gonna post it, but what's your website again?
www.themelaninproject2053.com. And I'm on all
Perfect.
social media
And
platforms: Instagram, Afra Smith; Facebook, Afra Smith; LinkedIn, Afra Smith. Also, the Melanin Project is also on all of those platforms as well. Look for the lady going up the stairs if you're following
There
along.
we'll post
Will
it.
you allow us to post your conference?
Oh, absolutely. Feel free to do that. Absolutely. It's local here to Madison. There won't be a platform this year, but I'm hopefully next year I'll be able to
Okay.
bring in a platform because I'm getting asked to do that. But again, that comes in that requires more dollars when you're doing online
Mhm.
platforms. So I got to be mindful of that.
Can I
But
can I plant a seed that I've learned from other people? There's some capital raisers who lend to people like me who I would go to them like, "Hey, I need money. I want to buy a house." They put on conferences which are local, but they also have a digital copy that they then make available to people who cannot travel
I
to the
love that.
conference. So
Okay.
that may be something that you may wanna consider. I mean, there's some cost to have a video crew there recording it. I don't think you could just set up your iPhone, right, and record it and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna sell this for $20," because then people are gonna be like, "I can't hear, I can't see." But
Mm.
before you make it a national thing, you may wanna consider just have a camera crew in the back of the room recording it, and then
Okay.
package it for people who can't travel to your event, and then post it online after the event and say, "For those who couldn't
Sorry.
make it, here it is." And the only thing that they're losing out on is that they couldn't ask you a question in person one-on-one, but still there's value to whatever content that you provide to them.
Love that. Ooh,
I'll send you an
Jim.
invoice later.
look at you
Jim.
being useful.
I will
Name
send you
dropping.
my invoice later for profit. Mike love
That's
it.
a Jim. It's gonna be recorded, just not televised. So that's a great idea because I am recording my main stage. I don't have breakout recordings, but yes, that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah, it doesn't
Cost
have to be
control
live.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
love
doesn't have to
that.
be live at all. And if no one buys it, who cares, right? It's still there online. But if people buy it, there you go. There you go.
Good thinking.
Love it.
All
Love it.
right. Well,
Love
we
it.
are really coming up on time, so we are going to jump into our next segment. And I have a soundboard, but I just haven't recorded the bum, 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 bum yet. I'm gonna have
I'm going to work on that
you.
this
You
week
just you just you just wait. And CJ, you have an audio thing that you could do that. Why haven't you done this for me yet? You failed.
because you said you were taking
You're
care of
fired. Fired. But anyway, yeah. So we're gonna go into our next
it.
section. I'm not sure if Ken has told you or if you've seen this on our other podcast. Is called a lightning round, where I think CJ today is going to be asking you 5 questions.
Mhm.
These are I don't know why I'm explaining it since CJ is going to be the one doing it. Sorry, I'd have a tendency of taking over things. But he's going to ask you 5 questions, and I'm going to put up a timer, which I'm trying to figure out now, for 1 minute. And I think it's 5. You're going to ask 5 questions, right, CJ?
Yeah.
Yep. You're going to have 1 minute to answer these
And
questions. So don't feel that you need to go into depth, like,
it's all
what's
rapid
your
fire.
what's your
Okay.
favorite chicken? Fried, like, just whatever. I don't know why I thought of that. Black.
Yeah, why did you think of that?
Edit that sound. Edit that part out.
I won't. I'm okay with looking crazy. Listen,
Of all things to
I am
say.
okay. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do here. So without further ado,
Okay. Can
CJ
I start now?
and our lightning round. Take it away.
All right. No pressure at all. Just first thought that comes to mind. All right. Question number 1. Who is your favorite R&B female singer?
Whitney Houston.
Okay. What is your favorite vacation destination?
Right now, Cape Town, South Africa.
Ooh, I've been
Oh, wow. Okay. Who was your favorite character and that you most identify with from Living Single?
Probably Queen Latifah.
Really? I would have said Maxine Shaw.
These are her questions, Ken.
I know.
Number 4. If you could counsel one female celebrity, who would it be?
Candace Owens.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
we'll come
Okay.
back to that one.
That is counseling. Counseling.
That's an ongoing process. And lastly, finish this sentence for me. A financially empowered woman always what?
A financially empowered woman always, a financially empowered woman always takes an opportunity to look inside of herself. Leave it at that.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm gonna say congratulations and no shade to our other guests that have been on, but you're the only one who focused on the question, answered it, and then moved on. We didn't make time, but that's not your fault. That I'm gonna blame Ken for jumping in and talking. I did the same thing, but you did amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
Fantastic.
All
I have
around.
instructions. I try
Yeah.
to, stick to the instructions. I heard you rapid fire. So
Now, I've been curious and wanted to ask this earlier, but I didn't want to go off script. Your company and your programs are focused towards women. Do you do anything for men?
I work with everybody. I work with families. So here's a reason why I targeted Black women. As I was unpacking my story, what I realized is everything that I had gone through was in the data. The payday loans, the student loans, the paycheck to paycheck, and the mental health. And then what happens with the data, and I took some national data from the federal government, was that Black women who have degrees are less apt to build wealth. And I'm just like, what in the world? What does that mean? So I had to unpack that. And as I started, I actually speak to that to banks and credit unions to help to understand like why they need to orient their products a little differently because I'm going to go get the loan. I'm going to go get the loan anyway. So can you create something for me to come off of that 25% interest car loan or that 300% interest pay?
Right.
And so I started orienting that. What I also looked at was sometimes the dad wasn't in the household. So if I target the woman, the rest of the household will actually have an impact. But I work with couples and Black women and Latinx families and Black women. So that's just my target audience. But I have done motivational speaks everywhere. I don't turn anybody down for service, regardless of their identity. I work with white folks as well. So, Black women was just kind of the center of me and kind of navigating out through my story and connecting it in. And the data was just staggering. I was shocked. Like I was supposed to end up here. I'm going back to get a degree, thinking that that's what's going to save me, but I'm getting the degree to actually work the job to pay the degree back. So it's just like, me thinking back, I would have never gotten a master's degree. Absolutely not. It paid off so late. It just didn't make any sense for me to have it. And I always challenge people, you're going to go get it. You better figure out how to pay it back. And all of my friends were in the same boat, master's degrees with little salaries, trying to figure out how to pay the debt. Highly educated and no ability to pay the debt back. So yeah, I work with everybody.
Yeah, I think people, and that was a great question, CJ. I think people really succeed the most when they see themselves in the business that they're creating. So you're obviously a Black woman who went through all of this. So you created a business focused on Black women because you're able to easily speak on that. And that has helped you with your trajectory because it comes across as genuine, right? You're not trying to fake it and saying like, yeah, I know what Black men go through. They're going to look at you and be like, do you? Like, so
Yeah.
that's probably a horrible example, but you get what I'm saying, right? So yes, I
Yeah.
think you did the right thing by starting off where you did, and now that you have it opened, and it's really smart of you to say, I'm going to target Black women, but
Yeah.
I know the Black man is in the household as well, so I'm actually going to be targeting the
Yeah.
whole
And this
system
conference
by doing
is
that.
very inclusive. There are so many different graphics that come to this conference.
Mhm.
It's like a melting pot of age groups, income brackets, identity. Everybody's welcome in my conferences. Come on in. Allies, advocates, come on in.
Hey, listen, I'm right down the street. I may be up in your conference.
Come on in. We can kick it. Come
There you
on
go.
in.
I like it. We won't go back to the day when we're just swiping it and partying and getting crazy.
Ah,
But we'll kick
I'll be
it.
watching.
I definitely want to. There's so many other questions that I had, but I could be on here with you for like 2 or 3 hours. So we'll definitely have you back on at some point. So I think financial literacy and just all. See, here I go again. We'll have you on again at some point to talk more. So I think it's important, especially for our community
Absolutely.
to learn more.
Absolutely.
All right. But before we go, we got one little thing. One of the things that I like to ask everybody to do is something that I came up with randomly one day, and we're going with it. At the end of the show, I'm going to ask all of our guests to do the Wakanda peace pause. And this is how it works. I'm going to count to 3, and then you're just going to get in frame of the camera. You're going to cross your arms, peace, smile, and pause for a few seconds. And then I'll
Okay.
just let you know when to stop. All right? Let's do the Wakanda peace pause. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And good. I like to sit there for a while, make it uncomfortable. It feels weird. I love it.
The fact that we've indulged this now for, what is it, 6 episodes?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm. I thought about that the other day because I
Listen,
do take snippets of them. I need to start posting them and putting them online. Anything else, you two, Ken, DJ?
No,
no,
thank
I
you
just
very
want to say
much.
thank you.
No,
Right.
this was
Thank
fantastic.
y'all for having
Great
me.
job.
Thank y'all for having me.
I haven't done it yet. But yes, Afra,
I just want it to be known.
what'd you say?
I just want Afra to know I wore this today just for you.
Love it. That.
I wear,
I need one of
I wear
those.
brown. Actually, Ken got me this.
I understood the
I
assignment.
love that. Yes.
Yeah, Ken, we're going to get you to wear a different shirt because I feel like every video I
You-
edit, you're wearing the same shirt.
Did I not Did I not say that, CJ?
He did.
I did.
But I think
said
it's that he
earlier.
comes in his fatigues. He's going to work. He's coming to battle.
Correct.
Nice. All right.
With you two, always.
Thanks for tuning in to the Blackbridge Mindset Podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, share, drop a comment, and leave a review. We're building bridges, one story, one mindset, one move at a time. Sure, I guess checking out their socials too. Until next time, keep pushing, keep growing, and keep walking in your purpose.